Hey guys. Well, it's just you and me, but if we
Well,
post
hi.
this, yes, people will be watching eventually, maybe if this round goes well.
Finally, yes.
So, okay, I wanted to talk to you today about ribbing, which you have done. We'll talk about ribbing, and then I wanted to talk about front post and back post, which you have done that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So with ribbing, these are kind of the four main ones. This is with slip stitch. This one is with single crochet. This one is with half double, and this is with double. And so you can see this one is really, really tight and elasticy, and then they just get looser and looser and less elastic or stretchy. What are you doing?
I'm chaining. But I'm watching. I'm chaining so that I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right. So I'm not gonna, well, I'll start this one. I'm gonna move these out of the way so we can still refer to them. Okay, so slip stitching, how many are you gonna start with? How many are you chaining?
I did 6.
Okay, I just got a phone call. So
Oh,
well,
yeah, I did 6.
you did 6. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you did your bridge already, or your extra
I did.
for turning. Okay. So I will catch up. All right. So here's my 6 chains. So I know in my other instructional videos, and I know you and I talked about this, I always count that little chain that you do at the end as like a bridge. Did you hear her sneezing?
Who was that?
That was my sister.
Oh.
So, okay. So we got our bridge, we got our extra chain. You're going to work back across the top of the chain and go right through. Don't stop. And this can get really tight. So
Yeah, mine is already really tight.
yeah, so you want to get it as loose as possible. All right, and I'm at the end. Are you at the end?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't do this right away, but I should have. I like to put a stitch marker in that first one, because this is what we talked about with this. Okay, so we're at the end, and the way you know you're always turning the right way is if you turn towards you. Okay.
Yes.
Not away. It's because the reason why that's important is because when we work back across, we're going to work in the back loop. And if you're not oriented right, you will not be able to tell what the back loop is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think I did it right.
Okay. And this is terrible yarn to show this. Okay. I'm going to switch to my other piece.
So now slip stitch all the way back in the back loop.
Yes. And if you put your stitch marker in, you will be able to tell that these are the V's that you're working into, instead of
not the right.
Yeah. because these look like the bees, but they're not. Okay.
They're false V's.
False bees. Yeah.
Bad V's.
So make sure to put your stitch marker in. I mean, once you've got some multiple rows, you can tell what is the back loop easier.
Yeah, I always struggle with the first
Yeah.
few rows anyway, just it's awkward for me.
Yeah, it is.
And I have done this a little too tight, I'm afraid.
Okay. All right. And if anybody else watching this, if you don't have stitch markers, you always want to make sure that you're counting back so that you don't drop or add a stitch like I was fixing to do. Because see, here's 5 and there's 4 and there should be 5. And if I'd had a stitch marker in this one, I would have been able to see it. There, and there's my 10th one. Okay. All right. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm back. I'm back to the end.
Okay. And again, you're just do your bridge, your chain 1 in between the rows and turn towards you. And it also is helpful to keep your V's straight up so that you stay oriented.
And again, back through the back loop.
Yes, ma'am. And I was going to show you, these get really hard to count, like if you do individual rows. So if you look at this piece, let me pull it a little bit closer. You can kind of see those rows.
Yes.
So those count as 2. So this would be 2, 4, 6, 8, and then this single one on the end and this single one. If you flip it over, yeah, you'll see 10 or 5. So 10 rows. That looks like I screwed up right there. I don't know what I did. Okay. Let's see if that looks better. Yes, it does. I don't know what I did. Okay. Can I see yours? Let me see again.
No, I don't want to show you.
Okay, all right. Do you want to keep practicing that, or do you want to move on to the single one?
Let's move on because I think I'm gonna like the single better than the slip knot. I find this one so tight that it's weird for me.
Yeah. So let me show you.
Like I think I messed up right there, but okay.
So this turtleneck, this is slip stitch. See how tight it is?
Yes.
So if you have something like this neckline, if this wasn't on here, it'd be like this big. But when you slip stitch ribbing, it pulls everything together. And the slip stitch does that the most.
Yeah,
so if
I can see that.
Yeah, if you want your edge to stay the same shape, then go for like the double crochets, which the sleeve is the single crochet. So there's a good comparison. the slip
Yes.
and the single.
Yep.
Oh, and look, look what I did. This is half double.
So,
So
you've done all three on
I
the
did all
same
three.
sweater.
Actually, I think this is, no, this is double. This is double crochet, not half double. Stop moving. Yeah, and then this one is the half double crochet for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so on the edge of this sweater, which is named after you,
Mhm.
I didn't want it to gather in at all. So I just did the half double crochet. Okay. Also, just another thing when you're working ribbing. So like how you join that turtleneck, like if you, or the cuffs to whatever project you're doing. So, okay, I'm at the end of my row and you were working back and forth like this. Well, now to work like a sleeve, you work along these ends. Okay.
Okay.
So these ends, do you see how like kind
Excuse
of
me.
undefined they are?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So where do
yeah,
you go?
You just pick and choose and stay consistent.
Okay.
Okay. You decide which you will be able to pick out consistently and stick with that. So like just looking at my stitches right now. Oh, and so for every row, you do one stitch above it. Okay, so this is 10 rows, right? So you want to make sure when you get, I'll show you in just a minute, when you work your way back across there, you have 10 stitches. So it's 1 for 1. I'll tell you that it'll become apparent in a minute why that's important. Okay, so I'll show you. Okay, here's my bridge. And I am just going to pick right here, start. I'm going to do single crochets. And then I'm going to pick this little weird bump. So there's 2. I'm going to go into this hole, which is kind of in between. And then back into this one, that weird bump, and then this hole. And then the bump.
Okay.
So yeah, you just make sure that you can recognize where you're putting your hook in and you can repeat it every row. So I have 10 single crochets. I mean, excuse me, 10 rows of slip stitch. And I want to make sure that I've got 10 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that actually, I don't know that that is 1. I should have put a stitch marker in there.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's do that. But does that make sense what I'm talking about?
It does. I actually did that on the that dishcloth that I made because I had to go around the whole outside of it like that.
Okay.
But I did half double.
So
Around.
the half double is kind of weird. When you're working across the top of the half double crochet, you do 3 between the ridges instead of 2, which I'll show you. That doesn't really make sense just hearing me say that. Okay, there's 5, there's 4. Yeah, so I need 1 more. Okay, there's my 10. So it stretches it out, but that's a good thing. You want it to. And I don't know, we'll see how much time we have today, but do you know how to increase and decrease?
I do, yes, in general.
Okay.
I mean, I did that on that ottoman.
Yeah, right.
So yes,
Okay, well, we will
but
put
not
this
that I
aside.
couldn't use more.
Yeah. Well, let's finish talking about the rest of this ribbing, and then if we have time, we can talk about increasing and decreasing.
Okay.
So this is the single crochet, and it's worked basically exactly the same way. You just, sorry, I'm trying to get some more yarn so we can see how this begins, and that it's a little bit easier. I didn't realize I had this yarn, or I would have done the slip stitch in it. Okay, so I'll do the 5, and you just chain 1 for the single crochet. Wow, my yarn is all very tangled. Okay, so again, you need to identify top and bottom so that you can work into the top of the chains. And so instead of going straight through, you stop and then pull through for a single.
Yes.
Okay, so I got my 5. Are you doing single crochets? What are you working on?
I'm doing singles.
Okay. And at the end of your row, you just chain 1 and turn it towards you.
Yep.
And again, if you put a stitch marker in there, you can see those V's really, really good. Although this is not.
And now I'm
as
going in the
confusing.
backs of these
Yeah.
V's too.
Yes. Yep. And all
Same
the ribbing,
thing, but just with single crochet. Got it.
which that pretty
I
much
don't know
is
what I
what
did there.
defines. That's pretty much what defines ribbing, is that you always go in the back loop.
And that, yeah, that's what creates the rib.
Right.
I have done something really weird here. Like I split my yarn or something.
Yeah, that's.
I'm always doing weird things.
That's easy to do. Okay, so that's single crochet. And again, you can count those ribs as 2 rows.
Yes, because you kind of got a row behind it.
Yep.
Or in between or whatever.
Yep. So yeah, if you do enough of those, you lose track of where one row begins and the other one ends. So it's a lot easier to just count by 2.
All right, I've got the gist of that. I'm gonna rip that out and for the next one.
All right. So half double crochet, same concept. You chain, and then you work into the top of your chain. Where's my? There we go. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was kind of a helpful one. So, okay, with half double crochet, it really just depends on how tight your stitches are, because sometimes for your bridge or the extra chaining at the end, if you have a really tight weave, you might only just want to chain 1. Okay.
Okay.
If you have a looser weave, 2 might be better. It just kind of depends on you and how tight you stitch. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
I did too.
Sometimes I depends on the yarn too. It seems like sometimes the fatter yarn or maybe the stretchiness of the yarn. Because sometimes when I've done 2 for the half double crochet, it's too much. It like bubbles on the end. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I know exactly what you mean.
Like this is cotton yarn right here that I'm working with, and it doesn't really give at all. And so 2 seems better for the half double crochet. But like this is a little more stretchy. That's not it. This is it. And I think I only did 1 on the ends.
We're doing a double, right?
Yes.
Not the, okay, we're not half double.
No, I'm sorry. This is the half double.
Oh,
Because the half double's like in between the double.
yeah, but
And
I'm,
the
you know
single.
what? I'm doing double
Okay.
instead of half double. I jumped ahead.
Okay. Well, it's no big deal. It's virtually the same thing. As far as purpose of how to rib, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Okay. So again, working into the back loops. Let's see if I can get a really good. So there's the V. And it's the one furthest away from you. Is that a word? Furthest?
I think it's
More
just
far?
furthest.
Okay. So you did double. I did half double.
Yeah, I'm not good at following instructions.
That's all right. So again, it's the same thing. You work into the back loop. Okay, so we're recording.
I think I get it. I'm gonna need practice, but
Yeah.
I've got the idea.
Yay.
I struggle with the slip stitch one because it's so tight.
Okay,
It's
so
small.
you did front post, back post, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's another way that you can do ribbing. Well, I don't know if it's technically called ribbing, but it's another way that you can do edging. So let me see. Yeah. Can you see that pretty well?
Yes.
Okay. So this half, oh, there. I lined up the front posts.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Okay. I lined up the front posts on top of one another. So like this first row, these were the front posts.
Mm-hmm.
On the next row, I did the front post with the front posts. Does that make sense? So this was a back post. This was a front post. These are back
So
posts.
you're making ribs.
Yes. So you're making ribs.
Mm-hmm.
You can also alternate them.
Okay.
You see that?
Yep.
So it's another way that you can do an edging that maybe is a little less confusing than these. And
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll show
I don't
you.
know
Really.
if that's less confusing or not.
Well, it just would give you another, like an option, another tool in your bag. All right, so I'm gonna just, let me do 2 more. I'm going to do double crochets because they're just easier to see. I need to tell the people in my house that they need to be quiet. Hey guys, they're not listening. Can you guys keep it down? Can you hear me? Can you be quiet? Thank you. Okay, so here's my row of double crochets.
You're so much faster than me.
Okay, so I know that you know how to do front post double crochet, but I'm gonna just for everybody else like explain.
Okay.
So I just did a row of double crochets. I chained 2 for my bridge and I turned. And then normally if you were going to do a row back, you would go in to this hole right below the V's. But you can do this cool thing called a front post double crochet, and you just have to identify all the previous rows posts or double crochets. So you yarn over, you can go, if you go in the back, if you go in the back, it causes a front, it causes it to push out to the front. That was kind of a little more complicated explanation. So this side is your front right now. This is the back. So we just went in the front and now we're going to go in the back. So you go behind, grab your yarn, pull through, and make a double crochet. And we're going to make this one a front post. And then this next one will go in the back. And this one we'll do the front. So what did you ever get to the end
What
of a
size
row?
hook are you using?
Why, what?
What size hook are you using, just out of curiosity?
A 5.
That's what I was using. Yep.
So
Oh, that's the same color as my 5.
nice.
Mhm.
I have bought a couple of yarn packs and they seem to be color coordinated, like both
Oh,
packs.
yeah.
The 5 is purple. I don't know. Okay, so this one is a back. Okay, let me do that again. Yeah, at the end of these rows, it gets kind of hard to see what you're doing. Okay, and then this is actually our last stitch right there. So Jen, did you ever get to the end of a row? Like when you were doing your front posts, was it in a circle?
No, I was going in
Okay.
circles. It was for that.
So when you're working back and forth, you just put a double crochet in the last chain, your last stitch.
Okay, and then turn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if
No,
you don't,
I was doing circles.
you're gonna, okay. Yeah. So that is what it looks like when you line up your rows and you do the fronts all the same. But if you alternate them, Well, let me do one more row of the same because it'll make it look better. Okay, you see how that row below us, this one was a front.
Yes.
So on top, I did another front. And so this one is a back. And so now I'm going to do a back. This one is a front. I'll do a front. This little sample is tough because it moves around.
Yes.
Oh, and I managed to get my yarn in knots. Okay, I can't go any further. That's it. That's all we're doing. So anyway, you can line up your front post and your back post and it creates a ribbing similar to this. Or you can alternate them, which doesn't give you the same ribbing. Maybe if I turn it this way, you can see it. Yeah. So this was when they're lined up together.
Yes.
Here. And this is when they're not. This is when they're alternated and it's flatter. Like this definitely is more raised. Okay. So just
Right.
an FYI. Okay. Well, my knowledge is exhausted.
For today.
Yes. Do you have any other questions?
I can't think of any right now.
Okay.
I've just been practicing over here.
Okay.
And I'm a unicorn.
Yes. And I think I'm a bear, right?
I don't know. It looks, yeah, I think you're a bear.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Hope you guys were as amused as we were. Okay. I'll call you in a minute.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.